U.S. So the way that they set up the education requirements in the
Yeah.
U.S. Actually deterred a lot of people from joining the industry because, if you go to school for 5 or 6 years, most people go, "Well, I can be a lawyer or a doctor. Why would I want to be an accountant?" So during COVID, and these are very loose statistics, right? During COVID, 50% of all CPAs retired. They were, because they were the baby boomer
Yeah.
generation. There were so many law changes during COVID that they were just like, we've had enough, we're out. So we lost 50% of our most experienced CPAs, licensed CPAs during COVID. And during the same period, we had about a 300,000 drop in enrollment across accounting studies across the nation.
Wow.
So you take out our most knowledgeable individuals, and then we have no new people coming in to do the lower level work, start absorbing some of that knowledge. It really hit our industry very hard. Can you see me, hear me?
So, handing over to you, Josh. Tell us a bit about yourself, your history, your background, and yeah, what you've been up to.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on the podcast. So, my name's Josh Roper. I'm a CPA, doing this for about 25 years. I've spent 21 years as a CPA in public accounting, servicing small businesses and high net worth individuals. And I spent about 4 years as a CFO slash controller for a local small construction company. I kind of try to bring all of that experience to servicing the clients. And, recently I've sold my practice to Marshall Jones. I was at a firm that I created, Altruis, and the business was doing so well. The model that I created was doing so well. I needed infrastructure to help keep up with it. So, found a nice firm and with a bunch of good partners that love servicing small businesses. So I'm getting settled into there. And so that's it. So just trying to meet new small businesses and help them navigate the complexities of the financial and tax world.
Yeah. So, how many clients do you have at the moment?
I personally work on about 250. So, but the firm has, several thousand. So it's a much larger firm. So
Yeah.
we have a nice book of business
And tell us where you're based in the US.
in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
in the Southeast, Atlanta is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. So the
Yeah.
economy is very healthy.
Okay. And so, yeah, so you're benefiting off that. So, is there any specific industries you guys are specialize in, or are you generic, and are you purely focused, say, on the Atlanta, Georgia type area, or are you more US wide?
No, so we focus on the nation, right? So all across the country, but I focus in particular in one industry. I have experience in several industries, but I only market to one industry, and that's the commercial construction industry. So, and that involves everyone in that industry, whether it's general contractors, subcontractors, specialty contractors, or even architects and engineers, suppliers, entities like that. So anything, I call it anything where people like to play in the dirt. That's the clients I like to work with. So
Excellent. Yeah, keep hands dirty. Very good. Very good. So, what are you seeing? So, obviously, you've spoken about the economy's booming. So, it's in your specific area. Are you seeing any sort of behavioural sort of impact of that? Are clients wanting to take more sort of consultative services of you as a result, or are they just wanting sort of the classic accountancy, compliance, balance sheet, P&L creation? How's that working for you?
yeah, so the industry's it's really interesting. So yes, they need accounting assistance. That's probably one of the most highest demand areas of accounting. There's not enough qualified help for them to hire people internally to do their books and get good financials. So CPA firms have started offering that as a service. So that's something that we see growing very rapidly across the country in all industries. To be honest with you, for both small and medium sized businesses, sometimes it's cheaper to outsource at this point than it is to bring on personnel. Um, but the clients themselves are definitely asking for more than just compliance services from their accountants. I think that a lot of CPAs and tax preparers get very comfortable in compliance work, and they get to sit behind their computer and get to be right all the time because they get to follow the rules and
Yeah.
regulations and make sure all the numbers tick and tie, so to speak. But clients really want more from their CPAs. They kind of want the old fashioned relationship where, it is a very personal relationship. The service is very personalized and you're addressing more of their needs of their company and personal situation more so than just the tax return or even the financial statements. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. So do you, as a practice, as an organization, you guys set up to support them on that, or is that something that you plan to sort of do more of in the future?
Well, no, absolutely. We do that. So when I started my practice 10 years ago, I took a little different approach to servicing clients. So I have a model, right? I call it my program, but it's nothing special. It's just it's a year-round cycle that the clients participate in. So the best way to explain it is just to kind of give you some details. So I target small businesses privately held. I don't target individuals, right? So I've found that we can provide the most value to a small business owner at more, as to your point, at more than just compliance. So the model that I've developed is I take my CFO background and I take my CPA background and I've kind of merged them. And so my tax process with my clients starts in August instead of December or January, where most compliance focused CPAs start. And so we meet in August and, we get together and go, okay, what has happened year to date, profitability wise, activity wise, what transactions have occurred that would affect the tax situation. And then we go, okay, what does it look like for the rest of the year? And then we project that and forecast that out. And then we take that forecast for the company and we roll that all the way down into the individual owner's tax in return, and we do a tax projection and we go, okay, here we sit in October, we know what your tax liability is going to be for April. What decisions can we make between now and the end of the year to minimize that liability? And whether that's retirement planning or purchasing new assets or employee bonuses, profit sharing contributions, whatever the
Mm.
case may be, or specialty tax services, depending on the situation, if they bought a building or if there's credits available, right? So we look at the entire picture in the fall, and then we help guide the clients through the end of the year rather than just showing up and doing the tax return. So the clients have been very receptive to that because, as you know, as businesses grow, there's a natural progression of things they need, right? When they start out, they may not need a retirement plan. And then as they get a little bigger, they may need a retirement plan. Then if they get a little bigger, they may need a basis change for filing, right? And then, things start stair stepping up as the company continues to grow. So with this annual cycle that we get in, we're with the clients all the way. They're never left wondering what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's certainly value add, isn't it, in terms of what would you ordinarily advise? Because at the end of the day, small business owners, you know, then we all want to pay as less tax as possible, right? So if you can give them that trajectory and that support to let them do that and make the most what they can out of their organized business, then yeah, all the better. So how do you? I don't want to, I don't know if your secret sauce here, but how would you go about? Have you got systems and processes, technology that allow you to do that automated assessment in terms of like the forecasting, or is it quite manual, or how does that fit for you?
It's not. So we use top of the line industry software, and we use the software for the preparation and for the forecasting and the projections and all of that. Some of it, it is a manual process in that you sit down with a client and you do talk about the numbers and you do come up with the numbers. And, there are always a few spreadsheets involved. But then once you get the numbers ironed out on the spreadsheets, then we transfer them into our software to produce the numbers.
Awesome. Very good. And so what's the sort of the size of the team that you're operating at the moment then?
Well, so I was a team of about six 2 weeks ago, and now I'm a team of about 40.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a big difference, right? So in terms of CPA firms, a 40-person CPA firm, we consider that like a large local firm,
Yeah.
and that's it's really good to have that kind of depth and breadth across the firm for specialty services and administrative support. So I'm very excited about the new team.
Okay, great. And so just can we touch on you selling your previous organization, if you
Mhm.
wouldn't mind? So was that because I know there's big, certainly in the accounting industry globally, there's big private equity move in there. Was that something that you got rolled up in, or is that something slightly different?
No, it was different. So I interviewed about five or six firms over about a 3-year period, and a couple of them, one was private equity and one was private equity ish. So they operated like a private equity firm, even though they had a very small ownership group. And so I intentionally, after going through those processes, I intentionally stayed away from private equity firms or accounting firms that were getting rolled up into the private equity
Yeah.
model. And the firm that I ended up going with, Marshall Jones, I intentionally selected A, I like the partner group, but B, they have no intention of going private equity. And I don't want that either. I feel that in the long run, that's going to be detrimental to both the clients and to the accountants.
Mm.
So I think there's a better value for firms that stay out of the private equity model. I think A, it's going to dilute the service to the clients. They're going to be more profit focused instead of service focused. It's going to be more difficult on the employees that stay. So what they're doing is they're changing the model where, most US accounting firms, while they outsource a portion of their work to other countries, most of the staff is built in-house, right? Trained in-house, come to the office, maybe some work remotely. But the new PE model is to cut down, X percentage of staff because our model is going to be solely focused on outsourcing. So I really think it's going to change the industry. It's going to change the way that clients receive their service, and it's going to change the quality of their service. So I think firms that stay positioned outside of private equity are better suited for the future than firms that do or that are maximizing for short-term gains. That's just my opinion.
No, I think that's you're not the only one who's expressed something similar. Uh, Certainly, people I've spoke to in the UK as well, and people have recently sold for similar reasons. No, interesting. And so, what was, if you don't mind me asking, the reason why you wanted to sell? Was it a fresh start, or what was the?
Yeah, I tried. So accountants we're very good at giving advice, not always good at implementing the advice that we give, right? So I felt that my model worked very well in servicing the clients. However, I was not able, let's see, the pace at which my current clients were growing and the new clients were coming in were outpacing the growth of the implementation of our infrastructure, right? So our administrative department, we had very good software systems,
Mm,
but it's very difficult for us anyway to find quality people with experience to come in and help service. And so we had a lot of turnover in the administrative position and at the
yeah,
lower level accounting position. Turnover at any company is detrimental, but in a small firm like Altrua's, it was incredibly damaging every year. You know what I mean? So every year I was rebuilding the infrastructure.
yeah,
The goal was just to find a large firm that had similar core service values and that used similar infrastructure or similar software and then had a much better administrative infrastructure.
mm,
Because, what I tell clients all the time is like, clients rarely get frustrated when when an accountant make a mistake because we have a system of quality control where we don't make a lot of mistakes. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Not that we're perfect, we just have a good system to
yeah,
catch those mistakes, but if they continually find frustrations on the administrative side, they'll easily go find another firm, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
that's that's kinda what I did was, it was a situation where I felt that although the clients were getting excellent service, it was a perception issue of lack of stability, so
mhm.
I wanted to move for more stability and larger team, right? So, a more collaborative environment, because I think that gets a better result to the client as well.
Yeah, no, excellent. So, because I know anecdotally, you speak to certainly people I've spoken to, they struggle to get talent and certainly younger talent into the industry. Is that your experience as well?
Absolutely. And so the US so the way that they set up the education requirements in the
Yeah,
US actually deterred a lot of people from joining the industry because, if you go to school for 5 or 6 years, most people go, well, I can be a lawyer or a doctor. Why would I want to be an accountant? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So you'll see what you're seeing. So during COVID, and these are very loose statistics, right? So during COVID, 50% of all CPAs retired. They were, because they were the baby boomer
yeah.
generation, there were so many law changes during COVID that they were just like, "We've had enough, we're out." So we lost 50% of our most experienced CPAs, licensed CPAs during COVID, and during the same period, we had about a 300,000 drop in enrollment across accounting studies across the nation.
Wow.
So you take out our most knowledgeable individuals, and then we have no new people coming in to do the lower level work and start absorbing some of that knowledge. It really hit our industry very hard. And so that was, the main reason for my move. But what the states have started doing is they've started relaxing or lowering the requirements because they've acknowledged that they chased people away from the profession. And so it's really a shame because the accounting is such a dynamic profession. You can do so many things within the accounting industry. You just only market, audit, and tax. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I think, with lowering the education requirements, hopefully that will bring more people into the industry.
No, good stuff. So, what's your view in terms of how AI is going to play a role within finance and accounting, and are you as a organization looking at adopting it? Where are you guys with that?
Yeah, so, it's difficult, because we're a regulated industry, right? So we can't go out to Chat GPT and just, kind of put our information in there because our clients' data has to be protected, right? So the industry is still coming up with, secure AI models that we can use for our clients, and we've started using them for research. Of course, we substantiate it from other sources and don't just rely on the AI. We started using it to review returns and come up with, communications to clients and analyze certain scenarios. And we're only gonna start using it more and more. And I think that, eventually, I think AI will take care of a lot of compliance for us. You know what I mean? Like tax returns eventually will take care of themselves, especially for about 80% of the population where that file very simple tax returns, right? And then the other 20% still need some sort of human element for reasoning and critical thinking. But yeah, no, our goal is to embrace it and to utilize it as much as possible. Yeah, so it's the future. So if you're not doing it now, you're going to be way behind the boat.
No, indeed, indeed, indeed. Maybe there's something in that, and to replace some of the sort of, like you said, the lack of talent coming through, maybe in terms of some of the sort of more mechanistic sort of standard processing that they would otherwise have done. Maybe so AI
Sure.
could fit into that role. And I guess as well, I don't know what your perspective is. Do you think having a AI, I guess, program or view on it is going to help attract younger talent as well? Because that's the way of the world, and they want to be seen to be operating in that space.
Absolutely. I think the only way to change the perception of our industry is to sexy it up,
Mm,
and the way that you're going to do that is with technology. So
mm,
the kids today are born with it. They're raised on it. So they expect it.
mm.
So, and certainly, and I can relate it to myself. When I graduated college, I graduated with honors. I go, okay, I'm smart. Now I'm going to be an accountant. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to save the business world. Right. And for my first 3 months, I sat behind a desk and printed out paper and, keyed in numbers into a spreadsheet, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for," and that's a lot what the kids today experience is, in their life, they're so heavily technology involved when they actually have to backtrack and go, "Oh, man, I've gotta touch paper and I've gotta
Yeah.
key in data," and it's like, this is so archaic, anything that you can do to sexy it up and make it easier and more exciting for the youth, I think that's a way to attract more talent into the profession personally.
Yeah, no, agreed, agreed. Um, so where you guys taking your business over the next 6 to 12 months? What are the goals for you guys?
Well, that's a great question. So the firm has done a tremendous job, and it's one of the reasons that I love this partner group is they've done a really good job of growing their existing client base over the past 5 or 6 years when they took it over from the previous ownership group. And so now one of the reasons that they brought me on is to start building verticals. So they have a few verticals. So they do a lot of work on the not-for-profit space. They do a lot of work in the accounting support services. And again, so they do a lot of work in the construction industry. So they brought me in because I'm a construction industry specialist, right?
Yeah,
I find that, and I believe in specialists. I believe specialists provide more value and clients like to work with them more than being just generalists. So so I'm coming in, and when my marketing and business development focus is working on specialty environments. So we're going to continue to grow the construction niche because it is such a wonderful niche with wonderful people to work with. We're also going to start a new niche in fire and security. So we found that there's a lot of opportunity and demand for services in that space as well. And then over the next 10 years, between 2030 and 2035, it's predicted to be the largest transfer of wealth in the small business community in the history of the country because that's when the final baby boomers are predicted to tail out. So we're going to try to take advantage of that and start building out an M&A niche as well. So due diligence, quality of earnings to help facilitate acquisition deals, as these businesses start transferring either to private equity or to, other private parties.
No, that sounds like a sensible strategy. Yeah, there's definitely you can see that from a boomers generation, coming, and yeah, there's a lot of talk about that transfer of wealth coming. So you definitely want to get on that wave as it's coming. So
Yeah.
yeah, just so like hypothetically, then, so what's you had a magic wand and you had the ability to solve a problem that's slowing you down achieving these goals. Um, what are those things that you're facing challenge wise?
Well, the US government, for the first thing. No, to be quite frank, the tax code is absolutely ridiculous. If we could simplify that, because the tax compliance is a burden. It doesn't help companies, right? So it only helps the US government. So if we can simplify the US tax code and free up all that knowledge that's stuck in tax land and transfer that over, because they're the same mindset, the
Mm.
tax and financial, but transfer it over to the financial side. That's where I think the companies truly need value. So if I could wave a magic wand, it would be to simplify the tax code and then focus more on the financial side, because that's where companies really need the help.
So is this where you've got too much resource involved in creating tax returns, creating is that what you mean by the tax?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
tax clause way it's far too complex, right?
Yeah.
So, well, the example I like to give, right, in US tax law, mortgage interest, and I even use this with my staff. So, is interest paid on your mortgage, your home mortgage, personal residence, is it deductible? Well, there's 5 different ways that it could or could not be, right? Depending on certain circumstances. So, why does it have to be 5 different ways to treat home mortgage interest? And it's like that for every single aspect of the tax code.
Mm.
So there's 5 ways to treat everything. Why just not put a flat tax on it, collect your money and be done with it, and then we could really start solving the world's problems from financial analysis, from financial reporting, at least in the business world, and get all of the accounting taken care of. That's where the problem that you have is the compliance has become so difficult, and then there's such a lack of resources on getting the numbers together. It's really a burden to be able to, now we've got to put all of our work into getting the numbers together. Now that we do, now we got to give all of our work into giving our money away. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's just what I would think.
Okay. Awesome. Very good. Yeah. So I think that sort of concludes what I'd like to talk to you about today. I mean, is there any final words that you'd like to say just to conclude on?
Well, so yeah, absolutely. I'll give this advice to everyone, right? And this is how I market to new clients, right? Are you doing tax planning? That's that's my question to everyone. Ask yourself, are you working with a professional to do tax planning on an annual basis, or are they just preparing your return? If it's just preparation, go find a new relationship, right? Because there's so much that you can do to be proactive in managing it. If you think about small businesses, right? They have their revenue cycle, they have their payroll cycle, their cash conversion cycle, right? So they have all of these processes within their business, and not all of them go, you know what? We also have a tax cycle as well,
Yep.
with it being one of our largest expenses. So make that a process that you pay attention to on an annual basis, just like any other process in your business.
Very good. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Josh. That's been fantastic.
Yeah, well, it was my pleasure. Thank you again for having me on.